What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we might need to take a little bit of a look at Old Force Veedramon. Old Force Veedramon might be back. Having said that, well, we all know that Old Force Veedramon was really good in the BT2 meta, but shall we say dropped off rather significantly fairly shortly afterwards. This is not that same Old Force Veedramon deck, but given that Old Force Veedramon has been off the map for a little while and seems reinvigorated by the BT5 meta, this is a deck that I absolutely want to have a look at. Shout out to the lovely folks at Ensan Gaming for making us aware of this deck, and shout out to Big Magic Zero over on Twitter for sharing the deck list so we can all take a nice little gander at it. So we might as well start off having a look at our Digitama here, and well, there aren't any. The deck list as it has been shared with us doesn't actually have any Digitama. Yeah. I'm also slightly confused by this. I'll share the deck list properly at the end, but there ain't no Digitama on the deck list. If you're worried about Digitama, it's a blue deck, play Uppermon. You draw a card when you attack. Uppermon is stunning. But this deck list apparently doesn't play any, so let's move on to the level 2, shall we? And what we've got here is a playset of Elecmon, which shouldn't really surprise anyone. Elecmon is a 2 cost to play normally level 3. It is extremely cheap, and it's going to get you where you need to go nice and quickly. A lot of decks are going to play this, to be honest with you. We've also got a playset of Gomamon here. Specifically, we're talking about the promo Gomamon. Yeah, that's right. The one from the very first ever product. The one from Booster 0.0, which does not get a lot of love. Maybe it's getting better. When a Digivolution source is deleted from one of your opponent's Digimon, you gain a memory. It's clearly a cool effect. This has not seen a huge amount of play since it came out. I'm hoping the tide is turning. That would make me happy. Now, we also do have a couple copies of a different Gomamon here. The one from BT2. The cost of playing it is reduced by 1 for every one of your opponent's Digimon that has no Digivolution sources. So if they've got 2 Digimon without Digivolution sources, this is a 2 cost. If they've got 3, it's a 1 cost. If you can catch them with 4, you can actually play this for free. And playing Digimon for free gives you a fairly ridiculous advantage. It's something we don't see very much of at all in the game. So if you can get rid of evolution sources like we're hoping that you can, this is going to be pretty gosh darn good. We've then got 4 copies of that Bluecomon, because yes, we are rolling up that evolution line at the moment. On your turn, once during your turn, when you trash a Digivolution card from one of your opponent's Digimon, you gain a memory. Now, I told you when we first looked at it that it's basically a more expensive Gomamon, and I wasn't into it. And incidentally, I still feel that way. However, the great news is we're just playing a playset of each of them, which is brilliant. Also, bear in mind, you've got 8 of these, right? You could, in theory, have 8 Digimon Digivolved from it, and then when you trash a Digivolution card, all the skills will activate and you'll gain 8 memory. Now, that's not going to happen very often, but bearing in mind, each of these skills activates. It is once per turn, but it's once per turn per skill, and if you've got more than 1 skill, you can use this more than once. If you can set this up properly, and it's going to be difficult to get that many out, but if you can set up a huge amount of them, you trash it into Evolution Source, and it becomes pretty hilarious for you, obviously. Now, moving up into level 4s, we've got the Grizzlymon from the starter deck, and this is a blocker. It's a very standard, ordinary, everyday, run-of-the-mill blocker. It blocks. That's what it does. You have to give up memory when you attack, so you're never really going to attack with it. It's a blocker. It'll be fine. We've got a couple copies here of Paildramon, building up that new evolution line. When you Digivolve into it, you trash 2 Digivolution cards at the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon. Firstly, you're trashing Digivolution cards, so you're hopefully activating a bunch of skills, but the fact that you're Digivolving into a level 4 and trashing 2 Digivolution cards is pretty huge here, because it means you are going to get your opponent to having Digimon with no Digivolution cards pretty gosh darn quickly. This will take a level 4 and get rid of all their Digivolution cards. That is pretty high. Now, we've also here got a couple copies of another level 4 from BT5. It's Coalmon. It's a blocker. You lose 2 memory when you attack, but it's a 1 cost to Digivolve. Simple as that. It's got a bit less power than Grizzlymon, but it's cheaper to Digivolve, so that's fine by me. And here there really is a question of how much does that extra 1000 power matter. If you're not too worried about the extra power, then Coalmon here is definitely a better option, cheaper to Digivolve. But if your opponent's attacking with 5000 power Digimon, then Coalmon can block them, but Grizzlymon can survive. With a 6000 power Digimon, Coalmon can block them, but Grizzlymon can take them out. It's up to you as to exactly what you think your local metagame looks like and how big you think that's going to be. We've then got 4 copies of Gorillamon here, which is a 1 cost to Digivolve level 4. Honestly, if I'm making this deck, I am putting 4 Coalmon in there, because it's still a 1 cost to Digivolve, and yeah, I know you lose a power, but 1000 power. It's got Blocker, and Blocker is huge. Blocker wins games. Blocker stops your opponent taking out security cards, etc. And I know I don't usually try and remake the list on the fly like this. I usually try and stick with them, but I'm sorry, when I'm looking at this one, I've got to say I want 4 of them. 1 cost to Digivolve blockers are too good in my eyes. I love them too much. Now, moving over into level 5s, we've got Weregaruramon here, and it is actually the one from the starter deck. If your opponent has any Digimon with no Digivolution sources, you gain security attack +1. Well, we've got a bunch of cards that take out evolution sources, plus there's going to be many games where your opponent just naturally plays a Digimon with no evolution sources, whether that's playing big Digimon in Megazoo, little Digimon in Rookie Rush, whatever, and you get to take advantage of that with extra security attacks. That sounds pretty alright by me. We've also got a full playset here, carrying on that evolution line, of Chris Paildramon, something like that. And what we've got here, when you Digivolve, you trash 1 Digivolution card from the bottom of all of your opponent's Digimon. Obviously, great combo here with Paildramon to try and really wreck your opponent's evolution sources. And on your turn, while your opponent has a Digimon with no Digivolution cards, you get security attack +1. And when I looked at this, I said it pretty much completely outclasses the starter deck Weregaruramon, and I meant it, but now you've got 8 of this effect. And in fact, you're playing 8 level 5s, they've all got these effects. So whatever level 6 you've got, as soon as you Digivolve up into a level 6, if your opponent ever has any Digimon on the field with no evolution sources, you are going to have security attack +1, which is clearly a brilliant thing. Now, I did say we're playing Old Force Vegemon here, and we are. We're only playing it as a 2-of. But what we've got here is when one of your blue tamers becomes suspended, you unsuspend this Digimon. We are playing blue tamers. We'll get there in a minute. And when this Digimon becomes unsuspended during your main phase, i.e. when one of your blue tamers becomes unsuspended, you gain a memory. So you suspend a blue tamer, unsuspend this, and gain a memory. That sounds pretty gosh darn good to me. In other Old Force Vegemon decks, there are other ways to unsuspend this Digimon. That's not what we're going for here. We are relying on the blue tamer. But the main level 6 in this deck is actually Hex Blaumon. When you attack, you trash the bottom 2 Digivolution cards from one of your opponent's Digimon. And then, if your opponent has any Digimon with no Digivolution cards, you gain Jamming, which is pretty good. It means you will not be deleted by security Digimon. It's a good thing. Oh yeah, and all of your opponent's Digimon without any Digivolution sources cannot attack or block. And this is the real hook of the deck. Because I've already shown you Powdramon and Christ Powdramon that get rid of Digivolution sources. This also gets rid of Digivolution sources every time you attack. But as soon as this is out, your opponent has to Digivolve in order to attack or block. Against a deck like Megazoo playing only big Digimon or Rookie Rush playing only little Digimon, they're basically done. Like, Rookie Rush will obviously have a few eggs they can evolve from, but they won't last long. And then anytime you can get rid of all of your opponent's evolution sources, they're done. If you can get rid of all the evolution sources from a level 7, they can't evolve, you're good. This could be so much fun. When this works, you've got extra security attack, you've got jamming, and you're taking out all of your opponent's evolution sources and stopping them attacking or blocking. That sounds kind of ridiculous to me. I love how this all builds up so well. I love the synergy in this deck. I love that 8 of your level 3s have got that skill that gains a memory when you get rid of a Digivolution source, given that you're doing so much of that. I love that all of your level 5s gives you an extra security attack when your opponent has any Digimon with no Digivolution cards, because that's going to happen all the time. I love that you've got so many cheap Digimon to Digivolve up, because you know what? Getting up to Hex Blaumon is what's going to really win you the game. I adore this deck. Now, in terms of tamers, I did promise you a blue tamer here, and I will deliver. We do have a blue tamer. It's actually one of those dual tamers that got introduced in the later set. It is Sora and Joe. And what we've got here from Sora and Joe is at the start of your turn, if your opponent has a Digimon with no Digivolution cards, you gain 2 memory. But we've already seen, right, that is going to happen all the time. It's going to be a constant thing. And I showed you All Force Veedramon, whereby when you suspend a blue tamer, you get to gain a memory. And we'll get to the suspension in a minute, but you're going to do that all the time as well. So, essentially, this should be gaining you 3 memory a turn. 2 from this and 1 from All Force Veedramon. Yeah. This is going to pay for itself so quickly. And because it's gained 2 memory, not go up 2 or whatever, it means if you've got multiple of these out, it will activate multiple times. And when you combine this with all of your level 3 skills, you could be running with a huge amount of memory here. Like, if you've got 4 Sora and Joe, you could be getting 8 memory at the start of your turn. Now, remember, we've got a hard cap of 10 memory. You can't go above that. But you're going to be operating with a lot of memory with this deck very, very quickly. Now, in terms of the skill that suspends it, when one of your blue Digimon attacks, you may suspend it to trash the bottom 2 Digivolution cards of one of your opponent's Digimon. And we got all those skills that will activate, and we've got the fact that when they run out of their Digivolution cards, they can neither attack nor block, and this is a superbly useful card. You see why it's a 4 of. It has to be a 4 of. But we've also got 4 Takumi Aiba. Now, this is a 2-cost card, and when you Digivolve, you may suspend it to draw 1. And I love this, because I've already shown you that this deck's got a bunch of ways to gain memory. If everything goes well, you can gain a bunch of memory. But now we're drawing cards as well. Yes. This sounds awesome. Now, it also says that level 3 Digimon, when they attack, have to lose a memory. That's both players. And I kind of like this as well, because this deck really wants Hex Blaumon on the field. This deck becomes exponentially better when Hex Blaumon hits the field. So you know what? This is hopefully going to slow your opponent down a bit, stop them attacking with a level 3s, or make them give up memory when they do, giving you a bit more time to get Hex Blaumon out. I'm going to be honest with you, Hex Blaumon was not one of these Digimon that was really on my radar as gonna definitely be a top tier deck when BT5 drops. But looking at this deck list here, I absolutely adore it. I still want 4 of the Colemon to have my 1-cost blocker, and I'm still adding in some Digitama, but this is a deck that was not on my radar, and believe me, ladies and gentlemen, it is now very much on my radar. But I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk Digimon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.